My second life began as a twig in the dirt where birds used me for target practice every single day. Millennia vanished in a blur, and that fragile sprout eventually clawed its way up to become a skyscraping titan. I expected an eternity of boredom until I pulled a caveman from the brink. 3 months later, things got weird. A sudden roar of voices breaks my sleep as a mob of fur-clad villagers huddles around my massive roots. Before I can even process their arrival, the fellow I kept from dying emerges from the center of the pack. He steps forward and collapses to his knees, eyes locked on my branches in total awe. He starts chanting nonsense while slamming his forehead into the earth, and the entire tribe copies him instantly. Silence falls, yet nobody moves. They just stay pinned to the grass. Confusion hits first, then the truth clicks. I give my foliage a deliberate shake, and the second that rustle hits their ears, they bolt upright, screaming with pure, unadulterated joy. Music, their speech is gibberish, but their excitement is contagious. I'm feeling the vibe too, so the whole tribe decides to pitch their camp right under my shade. I spend my days observing my new roommates. It looks like the guy I saved is the big boss. Music. He leads hunting parties out, returning with kills and carving the hearts out to lay at my feet. I was clueless at first, but the pattern finally started making sense. This is a sacred ceremony, and those hearts are the ultimate sacrifice. To them, the heart is life itself offered to their wood god and left to rot where it lies, music. They abandon the meat at my base. Luckily, my bark acts like a natural bug repellent. The sun turns the meat into leather, and honestly, the pile of shriveled organs was becoming an eyesore. I force my roots to breach the surface, hooking those dried-up sacrifices and pulling them into the deep dark. When the villagers see their gifts gone, the whole camp erupts in absolute chaos. The leader hits the dirt again, his people following as they bow like their lives depend on it. And they only stand once I shake my canopy, and so the cycle of midnight burials becomes our secret routine. The phenomenon becomes normal to them, serving only to cement my status as their undisputed deity. Periodically, the chief gathers the entire bloodline for a massive festival dedicated entirely to me. After years of eavesdropping, I finally cracked their dialect. Now I hear every single word they whisper. During the next big ritual, the man I rescued brings the tribe back to my towering shade. I pick up that his name is Yan Feng. These music folks don't bother with surnames, just single monikers. New parents just look around, grab the first thing they see, and twist the word into a name. His name translates to Eastern Summit. Music, Yan Feng steps out, hoisting a fresh boar heart high for me. Laying the gift down, he starts pleading for my protection, begging for the spirits to keep them safe. Music. He wants more food, safe hunts, and healthy babies. I just sigh mentally at the massive expectations. They expect the world from me. I didn't sign up for this, though. I can actually help sometimes. Music like curing their diseases. My anti-pest aura keeps them incredibly healthy, and before I know it, 10 years have vanished. My little village swells from 30 to 50 souls, but one afternoon the hunters return empty-handed and grim. They're carrying music, Yanfeng's body. Age caught up to him, and a cheetah finished the job. They lay him to rest right near my trunk. My first friend is officially gone. A powerhouse named Tiemu seizes leadership, but the tribe's fanatical obsession with me stays exactly the same. If anything, they worship harder now. Music. One evening, I feel a strange vibration humming through my wood. This isn't termites. It's a raw power I can actually grasp and manipulate. The energy is weak, and I have zero clue how to use it, despite my constant tinkering. Following the next ritual, the buzz intensifies. Could this be the literal power of their prayers? The math adds up. Every time they pray, my internal battery gets a significant boost. After some testing, I'm sure this magic is fueled entirely by the devotion of my tribe. Catch is there's no manual for being a god, so I'm flying totally blind here. I funnel my life force into a limb. Results pitiful, nothing shifted. Drained, I abandon the hope. Cycles pass, I push harder. Progress shows. The branch alters. A hungry nub pierces. No mere sprout a flower. Finally life. 300 stagnant years, now a miracle. I was wrong. I sacrificed every drop. I craved fruit. The bulb bloated slowly. I hide it. Those savages won't find. 12 months of singular agonizing focus. 1 year later, it gasped open softly. Ghostly white petals broad as a palm. A pale heart beats seeding a future. A saccharine fog drowns the entire valley. Terror grips them. Tiemu charges out frantic. The chief freezes, eyeing my towering shadow. Only their god could bleed such grace. Tribe gathers, they kneel in the dirt. A tsunami of raw worship surges through. Their desperation is my fuel, faith is power. To savages, this aroma is divine decree. I pump nectar, the air turns syrup. An old man shrieks, his hands transform, scars vanish, skin flushes with new life. Strength returns to a dying, brittle frame. He bellows, the spirit has finally awakened. Tiemu screams, worship him, prostrate yourselves now. His breath grants iron flesh and immortality. Fever takes them. Worship becomes their drug. Tiemu stands weeping, begging for a name. Guard us. We will bleed for you. Tiemu collapses. He is finally spent. Silence falls. They are my new property. This parasitic bond ensures my godhood climb. I shiver. Tiemu's eyes burn with zeal. The Wood Clan is born our savior. Chants echo. My hollow ego feels fed. Centuries of silence ended in beautiful noise. I deepen the scent, watching my slaves. The perfume rewrites marrow-crafting monsters. Elders grow teeth, children's spirits sharpen. I breed a master race, then withdraw. They must work. My kingdom requires labor. I dim the lure, awaiting the fruit. Divine biology laughs at the dirt's laws. Success is swelling within my core, a heavy promise of life, until that low-frequency drone starts vibrating through the stagnant air. It's a rhythmic, high-pitched whine like a bloodsucker hunting for a vein, and it's digging straight into my psyche. My mind screams to swat it, but I'm a prisoner in this timber, yet somehow the impulse triggers a violent phantom shiver. A heavy limb lashes out, striking mass and air, defying my biology, since my very scent should be a toxic barrier to vermin. Why does this thing ignore the laws of my nature? I lock my consciousness onto the point of impact, hunting for the intruder. Darkness at first, then a flash of gold, a single bee staggering upward, like a drunkard, fixated solely on my position. I hold my strike, mesmerized by its clumsy dance, as it navigates the canopy, hunting for the fragile bloom tucked within my limbs. The realization crashes over me, my own creation is the irresistible lure for this persistent little parasite. It touches down hunger, driving it toward the sweetheart of the petal. Absolutely not. I whip a twig down crack and blast it into the dirt. Yet the creature is obsessed, dragging its broken body back toward my nectar with terrifying resolve. Crack, snap, pop. A barrage of blows finally breaks its trance, leaving the insect spinning in a disoriented, buzzing haze. Where am I? Oh, right. I smelled heaven and followed the trail. I need that sugar. Where is the nectar? It scans the horizon, locks onto the white flash of my petals, and charges forward with a singular suicidal focus. Here I come, beautiful! I let out a mental roar of frustration and crushed the air around it once more. Finally, the pest yields, but instead of fleeing it, burrows into my crevices, claiming a permanent lease on my very skin. It makes no sense. My evolution designed this exterior to be an absolute dead zone for anything with 6 legs. Why does this one ignore the toxin? Perhaps my power has its breaking point. I decide to let the little freak stay. I could obliterate it with a single twitch, but there's a strange, desperate kinship I feel with this stubborn survivor. So I permit the squatter to inhabit my ridges. It vanishes at dawn to scavenge, always returning to me when shadows grow long each night. But proximity hasn't cured its lust. It still hungers for the nectar of my singular sacred bloom. We play this lethal game daily. It creeps toward the prize, and I slap it back into its place with a branch. I begin to think it craves the pain. 30 days bleed away, and my beautiful bloom finally curls into a gray ghost. 5 snowy petals lose their grip. I snatch them from the gravity well, refusing to let the earth have them. Behind the rot, the prize emerges an emerald sphere, already swelling to the size of a human's fist in its infancy. The anticipation is agonizing. I crave to know what cosmic energy will surge once this heavy fruit reaches its peak. If the petals could heal the broken, the fruit must be god tier. And still that damn bee keeps its vigil on my flank. Though the lure is dead, the bee patrols my bark like a tiny frenzied soldier. I grant it its little kingdom. Then the silence of the forest is shattered. The Wood Clan is fracturing, 2 factions screaming their hatred across the clearing. Purge the interlopers. This great tree is our birthright, and no blood but ours shall ever touch its holy shadow. We must exterminate them, but the opposition pleads they are mere travelers. A stern word sends them packing without slaughter. Why choose war? We were once wanderers drifting through foreign soil, and those people didn't sharpen their spears for us. We are not murderers. We are different. When we crossed borders, we moved with speed and respect for the local land. But these people have built fires and pitched tents. This isn't a crossing, it's an invasion. They want our ground. They must be erased. I soak in every hateful word the weight of their brewing civil war pressing against my roots. Tiemu is a statue of stone between the fires, his silence fueling the desperation of both sides as they beg for favor. He's the pivot, one word from the chief, and the forest either drinks blood or breathes easy. Speak, great chief, what is our path? The demand hangs in the air, but Tiemu is looking at a hidden horizon. Doubt clouds his eyes. He raises a palm, silencing the mob. This choice defines our soul and offends the Great Mother. Tree. I will demand an omen from the sacred tree. Its wisdom shall be our law. A terrifying hush falls. Why settle for human error when you can interrogate the divine? They are coming for me. Panic surges through my sap. I'm just a tree. How am I the judge? Worse, I have no tongue to stop the massacre. I drink in their language like water, but I am a silent god locked in a prison of wood. I could carve my will into the earth with a limb, but these savages haven't even birthed the concept of an alphabet yet. They are preliterate, living in the dawn of thought. My intellect is useless without a medium. I dig through my options. Communication is just physics, waves and tremors. I might not have vocal cords, but I have a billion fibers ready to scream. Sound is one thing, but I ditch the thought instantly. Shaking won't cut it. I could strike a limb against my bark for a thud, but that is light years from speech. I keep obsessing. Humans require a throat and a windpipe to find their voice. Long-pushed air rattles chords to craft words. I lack them, so why not grow my own? The blueprint finally locks into place, and I dive straight into the construction. I force a limb to expand by channeling raw prayer energy into the wooden fibers. I mold the branch into a larynx from memory. It is slow, but I have eternity. With divine power fueling the cell growth, the expansion hits a terrifying supernatural speed. Within minutes, a primitive set of vocal folds has taken shape deep within. I hollow out a lung-like bellows to compress air, then prepare for the first trial. Oxygen whistles through, yielding only a pathetic wheeze. The tissue is still far too rigid. I grind on experiment after experiment, forcing the wood to become supple and elastic. No normal tree could do this, but I am a god sapling fueled by pure devotion. After dozens of failures, I finally rig a structure that can actually produce a real moan. It is nothing like human anatomy. It is a jagged, primitive musical instrument. A cavernous tube featuring a tough leafy film that shudders under high-pressure air. Mastering the rhythm is a nightmare. I hide my secret modifications deep inside my core. I can't let the villagers hear me. Then Tiemu suddenly approaches my roots. Great Spirit, I am lost. My people's plan feels wrong. Tell me, what should I do? I swore to spread your name. I want to bring that new tribe here to serve you. That revelation catches me completely off guard. I didn't expect this ambition, but more zealots mean more power. I am actually into it. This boy is sharp. I weigh my response and craft a divine answer for him. I lower a jagged limb. Seeing the wood move, Tiemu collapses in total shivering terror. He pins his forehead to the dirt, too paralyzed to even move a muscle. A bit dramatic, but I have work. I etch a diagram into the soil before him. The crude sketch is finished quickly, but the message is crystal clear to him. He is still cowering, so I tap his skull with the branch. He finally dares look. I gesture to the dirt. Tiemu's eyes lock onto the jagged illustration I have left. It shows me with tiny figures groveling below. The realization hits him like a bolt. I see the way. I will bring them here to worship you, he vows, prostrating again. I rustle my leaves in approval. He sprints off to gather the rest of the tribe. He rallies the elders, preaching about the vision the sacred tree has supposedly provided. Skeptics flip once they hear I have blessed the plan. Everyone is suddenly on board. I watch the war party march out of the settlement to hunt down the outsiders. Success is a gamble. You cannot talk people into a new faith overnight. Blood will likely spill, but I have bigger concerns than mortal tribal squabbles. I focus entirely on my voice, building several different prototype structures inside my trunk. Flutes and pipes are capable of noise, but they are far too melodic for speech. I mimic insect wings based on local bugs, but clicking isn't suited for real conversation. Finally, I construct a mechanism capable of mimicking actual human speech patterns. After 100 practice rounds, I finally master the complex biological controls. 6 days pass before I look at the village. Tiemu hasn't returned yet. Bored, I snake a speaking branch toward a honeybee resting on my outer bark. A perfect artificial hum suddenly vibrates through the heavy, humid air. Insect jolts frantic, toying with prey. Creatures uniquely anomalous. Fist-sized, monstrous, abnormal, Trunk provides sanctuary. Tiemu returns defeated. Mission failed miserably. Why'd they lose? Warriors should dominate. Who are they? Master, I failed. Explain, Tiemu pales. Searching for voices. I am the tree. You speak. Devotion earned this. Let him wander. Report, stay quiet. Rituals are noisy. Worship is exhausting. Tiemu grins starstruck. Small but stubborn. Then why fail? A guardian spirit. Guardian ominous wait. Black tortoise god. Portable god. Mobile. Tiemu continues report. Their chief refused. Small powerful turtle. Leave or die. They chose war. Challenge accepted. Theory was wrong. Shells are impenetrable. Defense held firm. Begging for power. I'm stuck, honestly. What power? Only energy flowers. Wait. The petals. 5 remain. Still fresh. Magic. Eat this. Obey. No questions. True power never stammers. The second I speak, Tiemu's breathing turns shallow and panicked. He handles the petal like fragile glass, then gulps it down without a second thought. His eyes snap open the moment it hits his tongue. He slumps against my bark, drinking in raw power. That bloom was forged in a sea of desperate prayers. It is anything but a common plant. With eyes clamped shut, he feels a violent tidal wave of strength crashing through his veins. It is like an old scent he loved, but turned up to a deafening volume. He's back in the past. He wonders if it is that same legendary flower. The weight of it brings him to tears. He thinks I am a saint for this gift. Suddenly, a massive geyser of devotion erupts inside my soul. It is more energy than 100 tribal ceremonies combined. I watch him huddled at my roots. He is the source of this surge. If faith were a ladder, he would be at the very top. A new, nameless instinct begins to crawl through his chest. He cannot identify the music, rhythm, but it is rewiring his body. Every pulse makes him feel like he could crush a mountain. I feel it too. A tether snaps into place between us, a jagged raw connection of shared blood. This is no dream, it is real. He feels like a branch growing directly out of my heart. But he has his own soul. I can sense him, but I cannot rule him. Then his eyes flare. He bolts upright and screams at the clouds. The sound vibrates through me, shaking every single leaf. A sickly green vapor starts bleeding from his skin, coiling around his limbs like music. Smoke. Inside that mist, a ghostly silhouette of my own trunk appears. He sees what he's becoming. The tribe hears the scream and pours out of their huts like a kicked hornet's nest. They charge in with stone spears, only to stop dead when they see him glowing like a god. Chief, what happened? Tiemu just squeezes his fist, feels the lightning, and lets out a dark laugh. He cuts, the laughter short drops to one knee, and addresses me with a heavy, raspy voice. Thanks for the power, great tree. I will break the enemy clan now. The crowd finally understands. I am the one behind this miracle. The whole tribe hits the dirt in a wave of worship. I am no charity, though. I only have 4 petals left, and I am not growing more yet. These little leaves are way more dangerous than I originally bargained for. I will call this force Bloodroot. It feels like an unholy umbilical cord between our souls. The name fits. Tiemu marches out, ready to put the rival chieftain's head on a spike. Once he's gone, I realize I can still track his heartbeat across the forest. That is the Bloodroot working. Then I hear a familiar buzz. My worker bee is back. But it is a total wreck. The little guy is music. Covered in someone else's blood, one leg snapped and dangling. It lost a fight and lost big. It crawls into a crack in my bark and goes cold. I tell myself it is just sleeping. A day passes. It has not moved a millimeter. It looks like a dried-out husk dead to the world. I reach out to pull it into the dirt for a burial. It was my only friend. When my branch grazes its shell, a single leg gives a tiny, desperate twitch of life. It forces its head up, looking right at me. I feel a wave of pure raw terror. It is begging. It does not want the lights to go out. It will be my slave to survive. I say yes. The catch, I am a tree, not a surgeon. I have no idea how to fix death. I go with my gut and shove a pulse of holy energy into its music-tiny chest. It takes the energy, but nothing happens. The life is still leaking out of its body. Raw power is not the cure. I need medicine. Then I remember the bloom's youth-giving scent. I focus hard, forcing a tiny bud to grow no bigger than a grain of rice. It is so small that it only takes a second to force it into full bloom. A sweet perfume fills the air. The bee perks up instantly, but its body is still broken. The petal shuddered with a phantom pulse, but the light within remained a dying ember. I channeled every drop of spiritual essence into that bud until a single glowing bead of nectar formed. I let it fall into the dying insect's mouth. The moment it swallowed, a sickly emerald vapor began to bleed from its tiny shell. It was the same ghost mist I saw on Tiemu. Were they connected? I had my answer instantly. The fog began to move with a rhythmic, haunting precision, stitching the creature's mangled wings back together. I finally exhaled. My hunch was right. Under that ethereal glow, the trauma simply began to vanish. Finally, it stood, shook out its wings to test the air, and caught a breeze ascending into the light. A total miracle. Pride warmed my core. These blooms I cultivate through sheer will possess a terrifyingly potent medicinal grace. I started thinking, is there a shortcut? Coaxing a flower to bloom every single time feels like a massive drain. My gaze shifted to my own limbs. Could I just push that vital force through a branch to get the same result? I put the theory to the test. Within seconds, a heavy drop of neon green resin pooled at the tip of my bark. The bee was still resting nearby, so I summoned it closer. It was time for a little field experiment. I offered it the resin. It sipped, and that familiar green shimmer returned immediately. It didn't matter if it was nectar or sap. The magic was identical. The realization sent a jolt through me. I had unlocked this evolution entirely on my own merit. I could be more than just wood and leaves. I could be a sanctuary, a monumental force that mends the broken. As the rush faded, I felt our link tighten. This wasn't like that raw, primal bloodroot tether I shared with Tiemu. I realized our minds were fused. There were no human words, just a series of harmonic vibrations that translated into pure intent and thought. Not a bad start. You're my right hand now, tasked with patrolling the perimeter and keeping watch. Buzz. As you wish, Holy One. Don't call me that. From here on out, it's just boss. You are nameless, aren't you? Let's go with Goldenwick. I love it. I actually have a name. Today, Goldenwick was born. I christened my new companion and officially brought him into the fold. Goldenwick, what is your specialty? Boss, I am mostly just a biter, but I have a jaw like a steel trap. I can gnaw through almost anything. That felt underwhelming. I realized I would have to do better than that. Goldenwick, now that the sap is in your system, do you feel something stirring deep down? I wondered if I could trigger his bloodroot potential. If so, he would be a monster. He shut his eyes, searching his own soul. Seconds later, wisps of green vapor started leaking from his tiny frame. I felt a surge of hope. The power was there, but then the green started to fade, replaced by a violent, shimmering gold radiance that began to boil over. That was a curveball. It seemed the little guy had a hidden reservoir of his own strength. This gold light was still bloodroot energy, but it wasn't mine. This was something ancient and dormant he had unearthed himself. Eventually, the golden aura completely swallowed him, and within that glowing sphere, something began to shift. A massive, terrifying silhouette of a titan-sized hornet flickered into existence. He opened his eyes, trembling as he stared at the monstrous shadow. Boss, what did I just do? That is your inner blood root, I said. It is your birthright. How you wield that power is your own lesson. He gave a slow, dazed nod. I had reached the limit of what I could actually teach him. I was still a novice at this too, but a question lingered. Why did he evolve naturally while Tiemu struggled? Tiemu's spirit form looked exactly like my own bark and branches. But Goldenwick's power manifested as his own true self. Maybe the human ego or anatomy just works differently. I would have to investigate. He pulled the aura back in. Boss, I need to head out. Hunting for food, go on then. Just be ready if I call. He took off with a heavy hum. Actually, boss, I'm looking for blood. Yesterday, while I was out, a serpent tried to jump me. It tried to take my haul, and I barely escaped. Wait, I stammered, caught completely off guard. A snake. What the hell do you eat exactly? Anything with meat. Fruit, larvae, bugs, whatever I can kill. Well, damn. I thought I had a simple honeybee. Turns out I was harboring a stone-cold killer. It makes sense. Some species are purely predatory. I had clearly underestimated his nature, but it was too late now. I warned him to be smart. A viper is a death sentence, and it is likely long gone by now anyway. But Goldenwick whispered, Boss, I know exactly where that coward is hiding. A massive colony nearby breeds serpents. It belongs to a rival tribe. Goldenwick's intel strikes a chord. This changes the entire board. I command my scout to bury the grudge. I have a priority mission. Scout their numbers and identify whatever entity they worship as a protector. Return with the data. Winning requires staying 10 moves ahead. Expansion is inevitable, making friction with surrounding territories a certainty. Intelligence ensures dominance, whether through peace or slaughter. My scout takes flight. I track its silhouette until it vanishes, sensing those serpent tamers are far. Standing 50 meters tall, my canopy offers a godlike perspective. No other huts appear, though a jagged peak conceals the dark shell camp. A thin waterway snakes past that mountain where those refugees set stakes. When I first rooted here centuries ago, that river was a mere trickle. Time carved it deep and wide, a mirror of my slow growth. Tiemu reaches their primitive camp, a cluster of pathetic huts. The alarm sounds. Their fighters grab spears while mothers hide the young. No elders remain. The brutal trek had already purged the weak. Tiemu bellows a challenge, demanding the chief settle their old blood debt. I will crush you today and force you to kneel before my creator. Pancham emerges, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. He spits back that their god is just as lethal as my divine bark. Tiemu laughs off the threat, eager to prove his power isn't a shadow. He intends to demonstrate my true wrath. Their stares are a collision. Both tribes form a ring as the rivals brandish jagged stone pikes. The chief lunges first, but Tiemu meets the strike with bone-jarring impact. They rebound and dive back in a frantic dance of stone. My warrior's stamina is supernatural. He breathes as easily as a man at rest. Pancham falters, yet his skin possesses the unnatural durability of a beast. A direct hit only leaves a surface nick on his armored hide. It's a repeat of their last draw, a grueling war of attrition. Tiemu realizes raw muscle won't win. He taps into my sap-fueled energy. He channels that dormant fire, letting it flood his veins like a dam. A sickening snap echoes as he sends the chief flying with one strike. Pancham scrambles up, but the sight before him paralyzes his heart. An emerald aura manifests into my likeness, cloaking Tiemu in spectral forest. He anchors his stance, shattering the earth as he rockets forward. The panicked chief raises a defense, but Tiemu descends like a star. The impact splinters the stone spear before the killing blow lands. Pancham is launched into the dirt, his lungs struggling for life. Terror grips his followers as they drag their broken leader from the dust. Through the agony, he wheezes a command summon, their monstrous protector. Several warriors bolt toward the camp, desperate for salvation. Tucked away near the riverbank lies a dark, stagnant pool. A massive soot-colored turtle sits there, looking deceptively mundane. They prostrate themselves, begging the ancient shell-dweller for vengeance. The beast stirs, opening ancient eyes to lock onto the messengers. The chief sent us for you. Please help us put an end to that monster. The ancient turtle barely nudges its head. Taking that as a yes, the tribesmen haul the beast from the water. Outside the village, Tiemu lowers his blade and the chilling mist sucks back into his skin. The wood tribe goes wild after Tiemu's win. He just waves them off, crediting our holy timber. "Praise the tree!" he shouts once more before marching toward the black shell camp. "You're done. Per our deal, you're coming with us to serve the great root from now on." Bloody and leaning on his kin, Pancham glares at Tiemu. "This isn't over. Our spirit remains." Tiemu's eyes turn stone cold. "You'd lie to me. The black shells pull their steel as one." The wood boys lunge, but Tiemu cuts them off. A few more seconds, and it's a massacre. Tiemu's face is a mask of shadows. Final offer. Move. Just then, the turtle squad shoves through. Pancham sees the black turtle and screams, "Guardian, save us! Wipe these people out!" Tiemu locks up instantly. That ghost mist starts leaking from his pores again. Suddenly the turtle snaps. It sinks its teeth into Pancham's hand, making him howl in agony. The guys drop the beast thud straight into the dirt. To everyone's shock, it just bails into the woods. Pancham watches his god run away breathless. "Don't let it get away, bring it back." Tiemu's vibe changes. He throws a hand out. "Get him!" Both tribes collide in a blur of violence. While Tiemu watches, the black turtle reaches the bank, slides in, and vanishes into the deep. Soon every last black shell is in chains. Tiemu stands over a dying Pancham with a smirk. "Didn't see that plot twist coming, huh? The god you worshipped just ghosted your sorry self." The black shells are history. Pancham hacks up, blood eyes going dark, and finally stops breathing. Tiemu finds a spot to dump Pancham's body, then marches the survivors back to camp. I'm watching from the ridge as Tiemu brings them home like a conquering hero. A line of broken refugees following behind. They're going to need a new identity starting today. They'll be part of the wood tribe soon enough. Tiemu brings the whole group to stand before me. "This is the holy root we live for. From now on, this is your god too." They hit the dirt, but their prayers feel pretty hollow. I get it. You don't just start believing in a day. But they'll learn. After the welcome ritual, Tiemu starts getting everyone settled in their new lives. The tribe was at 61, at 32 from the black shells, and we're sitting at 93. In the dead of night, Tiemu creeps up to my trunk and whispers, "Great root." I'm wide awake. Being a tree means you don't really do the whole 8 hours thing. Sometimes I just zone out to kill time, which is close enough. Yeah, I groan. Good job today, kid, Tiemu grins. Elder, it was all thanks to the juice you gave me. I'd be dead without it, so why the late night visit? Tiemu spills the whole story. When he's done, he asks, can a spirit really just walk out on people? I hear the fear. He's terrified that one day I'm just going to pack up and leave them high and dry. I chuckle. Tiemu, if I stopped giving you power, would you go find a better tree? He turns pale as a sheet. He hits his knees and slams his head into the dirt. I'm yours forever. I use a branch to hold him up. Relax. It was just a question. You already know the answer. Tiemu stands there, heart hammering against his ribs like a drum. I don't say a word. Does he even have the guts to think it? Nope. I sigh mentally. Look, here's the deal. You choose a spirit, but that spirit chooses you right back. If you start acting like trash, I'm out. Go ask the newcomers how they pissed their god off. Tiemu nods frantic. I'll go ask right now. Wait until morning. Everyone is sleeping. I catch him before he bolts. Tiemu nods again. Of course. Get some rest, great root. Tiemu peels out of here like his life depends on it. That wasn't a walk home. That was a full-blown retreat. I catch myself thinking, do I really come off that menacing? I'm just a tree, for heaven's sake. I brush the thought aside and stare into the heavens. The atmosphere is crystal clear, revealing both the sun and moon, yet they look puny and oddly artificial if you stare too long. Come nightfall, the moon is a lonely orb in a starless abyss. Most wouldn't notice, but I do thanks to my past life in a different universe. To the local primitives who've lived here since birth, this sky is the only ceiling they've ever known. It's just the way things are to them. I shift my attention back down to the dirt. The Wood Clan is out cold, and I can hear the muffled snoring coming from the dark shell camp. A sharp splash cuts through the quiet night air from the nearby river. I lock onto a huge tortoise gliding through the ripples. That thing is massive. Could this be that guardian spirit from the dark shell myths? Tiemu mentioned it bolted for the water. Driven by a hunch, I launch several of my branches toward the riverbank in a flash. These aren't normal limbs. They're forged from pure spiritual energy capable of acting like soft silk or solid rebar. I call them my vine tentacles. The beast hardly has time to blink before I've made hard contact with its shell. It tries to submerge, but I've already got it wrapped up. One sharp tug, and I hoist it right out of the river. The tortoise lashes out, chomping down on my limbs in a frantic attempt to chew through and escape. But these aren't your average twigs. I flex my will, and they instantly become as rigid as carbon steel. It's like the creature is trying to eat a mountain. The only thing it gets for its trouble is a cracked tooth. I drag it into my upper limbs, braiding foliage into a natural jail cell. The beast keeps fighting the whole way up. It's about 1 meter in length and completely pitch black. This thing fits Tiemu's description of the Dark Shell Guardian to a T. My curiosity stems from the rumors that this spirit gifted its followers with superhuman durability. I attempt to reach out mentally using the technique I used on Goldenwick. No idea if it'll work on a shelled creature, though. So, are you the big shot guardian for the Dark Shell clan? I pulse the question through my vines. The tortoise locks up. Nice, the connection is live. But it just stares into space, giving me nothing but silence. I give it another shot. Music. Just think your words. I can hear your mind. Right after I speak, the creature pulls a disappearing act inside its own shell. I didn't expect such a fraidy cat. I hang tight until a faint signal comes through. That was my old job, but those people are all gone now. Please, I'm just a regular little guy. Let me go. Seriously, look at me. I'm mostly shell and zero meat. I taste like garbage. I swear if you're hungry, I'll go fishing for you instead. I'll bring you fresh fish daily, I promise. Just let me go. I shut down the mental link immediately. It was just non-stop whining. Okay, look, I'll let you go, but you need to settle down first. I've got questions for you. I sent the ping and went radio silent again. After a bit, the tortoise finally peeks out, looks around like it's expecting an ambush, then half hides again. It seemed calmer, so I hooked back in. Music. You're the one who gave the Dark Shell folks that blessing. It gave a slow nod, but added, that was their idea, not mine. I didn't have a choice. I was actually shocked. You're telling me some primitives bullied you into it? Don't play with me. The tortoise immediately started crying its eyes out. I'm just a basic tiny turtle, nothing like a powerhouse like you. I was just hanging out in the river when those guys snatched me up and made me their guardian spirit against my will. I said no at first and tried to make a break for it constantly, but they always tracked me down. Then they told me if I ran again, I'd end up in a boiling pot. I only became their god, so I wouldn't get eaten. Are these tribal folks really that cold-hearted? Hearing its tragic story, I can totally see what a nightmare its life was. At least the Wood clan never pulled that kind of stunt with me. I suddenly remember that first day they showed up at my trunk. They begged for my help, but if I'd said no, would I have ended up like this turtle? Hell, at least the turtle can walk. I'm stuck in the dirt. I don't even have feet. If things went south, I couldn't run away if I tried. Suddenly, I feel a real sense of panic. I can't live like this. The Wood clan is cool for now, but who knows about tomorrow? I can't leave my survival up to someone else's religion. Power is my only currency now. The old shellback just keeps on rambling. The best part of being their mascot was the free catering. They hand-delivered my meals every single day. I give a slow wooden nod. Sounds like my own deal with the Wood clan, but then they started demanding miracles I had no idea how to perform. This was the intel I was fishing for, the entire reason I hunted this crawler down in the first place. Eventually I cracked. I tossed them a few drops of my blood just to shut them up, never dreaming it would actually do anything. The ones who drank it turned into human tanks, physically unstoppable and impossible to hurt. That was the extent of my so-called blessing. So they were blood drinkers. Looking back, that petal I gave Tiemu was literally a piece of my own flesh. My people have already started down that same dark path. That realization sends a cold shiver through my bark. My gut clenches with a new kind of dread. Back when you were their god, did you feel something manifesting inside you? The tortoise gives a heavy nod. I felt a spark back then, a residual heat that's still there. Any idea what we're looking at? I call it prayer fuel. It's the energy that bleeds into us when the primitives start their chanting and rituals. Prayer fuel, catchy name. You're sharper than you look knowing something like that. I let out a dry, woody chuckle. The old lizard knows how to play the game, probably thinks flattery is his ticket out of here. Fine, I've heard enough. What's your next move? He sighs. Just looking for a quiet corner to rot in, I guess. Why not stick with me? You head out alone, and some other hunter is going to turn you into turtle soup. I'm still vulnerable and could use some muscle on the payroll. I've already got Golden Wick as my scout. A tank wouldn't hurt the team. The tortoise looks up at me hesitant. Is no an option? I was just trying to be persuasive to sell him on the partnership, but he clearly thought I was making a threat. Relax. I'm letting you go. He looks at the vines pinning him down and nods, though his eyes say he doesn't trust me for a second. I'm serious. You're free. He stares back, clearly not buying the benevolent spirit act. I drop him back into the current. He swears he'll stay close and bring me a daily catch. I don't stop him. Better to keep him on a loose leash. Once he's gone, the silence brings the heavy thoughts back. I look down at the Wood clan huddled below. I still cling to the memory of once being human, which makes me soft for these people. That sentimentality is exactly why I handed Tiemu that petal without a second thought. But the tortoise's nightmare just flipped the script. To these savages, I'm not a person, I'm a resource. If they ever outpace me, I'm just a harvest waiting to happen. Yet I can't afford to cut them loose. That prayer fuel they generate is the only thing keeping my growth spurt alive. From here on out, it's a tightrope walk. No more blind handouts, but no total abandonment either. The following morning, Tiemu grills the refugees about their old god. I'm a fly on the wall for every word of it. Their account matches the tortoise's story down to the last bloody detail. They had played the role of parasites milking their guardian for every drop of power they could get. Tiemu walks away from the interrogation looking like he just swallowed a mouthful of glass. He comes to stand before me alone, neck craned back to look at my towering canopy. After a heartbeat of silence, he finally finds his voice. Sacred tree? I've heard what they did. I know how they betrayed their protector, but... Tiemu's gaze turns stone cold and certain. The Wood clan will never cross that line with you. I stay rooted in silence, offering no response. He drops to the dirt, kneeling. Sacred tree, I swear on my last breath, I'll let no one lay a hand on you. The second the vow leaves his lips, a massive wave of prayer fuel hits me. It's warm and genuine enough to make me feel that the petal wasn't a mistake. One man's word won't change the law of the jungle, but I give my branches a little shake so he knows I'm watching. Tiemu doesn't stick around. Being a chieftain is a full-time job. By dusk, Goldenwick zips back from the front lines and perches on a high limb. Boss, I'm back. Good work. Give me the play-by-play. The bird drops the cheerful act and turns dead serious. I did some digging. The snake charmers call themselves the Serpent Clan. Their god is a massive viper, found the damn thing coiled on a ridge a few hundred meters from their camp. It's a monster boss, huge. He flies up, drawing a circle in the air nearly 2 meters wide. My stomach drops. If it's really that big, snake is an insult. We're talking about a living nightmare. A viper's name suits it best. If their faith holds, that beast might transcend becoming a leviathan or a true drake, provided this reality allows such divinity. The bird settles, chirping more intel. 200 souls fuel that rival tribe. Elite trackers, they haunt the high peaks for meat. Worse, they harbor vipers, one for every man, dripping with lethal toxins. A cold shadow passes over my consciousness. These snake worshippers are a nightmare. They dwarf my people's numbers twofold, and their raw power is staggering. In a straight fight, my wood clan gets slaughtered. Survival demands rapid expansion. I weigh the options. Step 1, we stop foraging and start tilling the earth. Currently, these people scrape by on kills and whatever berries they can scrounge from the brush. As mouths multiply, nature's scraps won't suffice. I'll wait, though. A revolution requires the perfect moment. While they starve, I focus on turning their worship into a lethal weapon. Before, I just fueled my own expansion, crafting those iron-strong vine limbs to lash out at threats. I can mend flesh or sprout blooms that grant men primal surging vigor and unlock latent power. Yet these are mere tricks of a medic useless in a real bloodbath. Despite the centuries, I still lack a true tool for mass destruction. The frost brings a killing famine. Prey vanishes into burrows and the frozen earth yields no harvest. Hope withers. Their pantries are hollow, the forest has gone silent and cold. Desperate, Tiemu drags the tribe into unknown wilds for meat. I watch silent. Then something shifts. While the mercury drops, my divine reserves actually swell. I soon pinpoint the source of this windfall. Hungry bellies breed desperate devotion. Every plea for a kill sends a spark of power my way. Biting gales scream as the tribe hits a breaking point. 5 days, 0 kills, total despair. That's when a snake from the old dark shell tribe Leshy makes his move toward Tiemu. Boss, we're dying. The kids are starving. Tiemu's face is a mask of stone. He's well aware. The weight of leadership is crushing him. Then Leshy drops the poison. Why not beg the tree? Tiemu bristles. The tree protects our souls. We don't beg it for handouts like curse. It guards us, yes, Tiemu growls, but we don't whine to God just because it's snowing. We aren't finished. The forest still provides, even if the meat is scarce today. He's talking about chewing on bitter bark and dry leaves just to keep the heart beating. He believes grit will see them through. He dismisses the coward with a cold, hard glare. Don't pester our deity with trifles. But Leshy is far from finished playing his hand. He whispers to the other conquered outsiders, finding fertile soil for his seeds of rebellion. Conquered by Tiemu and absorbed against their will, the Darkshell exiles simmer with hate, and Leshy intends to weaponize that bitterness. Fueled by the agitators, a toxic murmur ripples through the entire camp. Tiemu returns with nothing but frostbite. Leshy strikes, leading a mob to intercept the chief's path. Empty pockets again, chief. You really expect us to survive on wood pulp? Tiemu eyes the traitors and the weak-willed locals joining them. Rage flickers in his tired eyes. What's this? If bark is too bitter, go find your own damn kill. The loyalists back him up. Yeah, go freeze your tails off if you're so smart. Move! Now! But Leshy stands his ground, eyes gleaming with a dangerous agenda. He's baiting the trap. I told you how to fix this, chief. Let's use our resources. Demand the tree feed its people, no more gnawing on sticks like starving animals. A roar of approval goes up. The tree, let the Great Spirit fill our bellies. It has the power, take us. Tiemu's jaw tightens. They're staging a coup under the guise of prayer. He stomps. The snow quakes. The mob recoils into a deafening, terrified silence. He memorizes every traitorous face. Is this the consensus? Not a single soul chirps. Leshy finally breaks the quiet. Damn right it is! Tiemu's lips curl into a terrifying grin. Round up every soul in the tribe. We march to the ancient oak now. Leshy lets out a shaky breath, privately plotting how the great root will react to our plea. Failure means he can finally dismantle our faith, though a miracle seems purely delusional to him. How could a rooted, motionless stump conjure a feast? He's been scrutinizing my every bark and leaf. To him, I'm just oversized timber. Suddenly, the entire forest folk assemble within my massive shadow. Low whispers drift. Half the tribe prays for bounty, while the rest wait for nothing. Chief Tiemu leads the charge, kneeling at my roots to begin the ritual. I've witnessed everything. Ever since Tiemu's homecoming, I've tracked the fallout. Today's spiritual tribute feels hollow and weak. The reason is clear: devotion is rotting. This spiritual decay stems from two distinct fractures. One part is Leshy's toxic influence. The other is the silence following their unanswered prayers. Closing the ceremony, Tiemu lays bare their suffering, begging me to intervene before they perish. Holy Guardian, we beseech your grace, nourish your children before we succumb to this famine. As his plea fades, my entire frame convulses, sending a violent shiver through every single leaf. My sudden spasm jolts the onlookers. The agitators who forced this confrontation now stand frozen. Fear flickers in their eyes, yet they lie to themselves, dismissing the tremor as mere wind. I must set things straight for these simple souls. Breaking the silence, I utter one name: Tiemu. Tiemu hits the dirt, instantly whispering his readiness as the entire tribe collapses in fear behind him. Shock paralyzes the crowd. Their silent idol just found its voice, shattering their rational defenses. Just a plant face in the mud, Tiemu lets out a silent, triumphant smirk at their terror. Now the skeptics witness true divinity. I let my voice rumble once more. You seek sustenance. With a humble nod, Tiemu confirms that the clan's granaries are bare and the hunger is real. Many prayed for abundance. My canopy bows in response, a massive gesture that commands the sky. Only the truly devoted shall eat. Every head snaps up, eyes gleaming with terror and hope. A literal miracle was beyond Tiemu's wildest dreams, fueling a fresh wave of fanatical devotion. His unwavering faith solidifies. I command him, line them up for their individual judgment. Rationing will be dictated by spiritual purity. My decree leaves no room for deceit. Only the faithful eat. Doubters will leave this holy ground hungry today. The ringleaders of the descent crumble into the dirt, realizing their game is up. My power extends into their very thoughts. Those with hollow hearts know they will leave empty-handed. Worst of all, their infidelity will soon be paraded before the entire community. Starvation is the least of their worries. Exile is the likely price for their poisoned minds. Tiemu approach. He obeys, lowering himself into a profound posture of reverence at my feet. A massive surge of pure devotion floods into me from his spirit. I reveal my cache of fish lowered by a supple vine. A collective gasp echoes nearby. This silver harvest was gathered by my shelled companion, a loyal turtle who hunts the depths. He swore to bring one catch daily and exceeded his vow, hauling in multiple river prizes. Lacking a mouth, I've cured and stashed these riches within a vault grown from my bark. With careful rationing, these supplies will sustain the tribe until the first thaws of spring. I bequeath a fish to Tiemu. He offers a silent prayer before making way for others. The cycle continues, though the spiritual feedback from the next few seekers feels significantly thinner. Rewards shrink to match their faith. Then comes Leshy, his chest thumping with absolute dread. His tribute is a dying ember, barely a blip on my spiritual radar. I sift through my stash, readying a tiny scrap of fishtail while his panic mounts. Finally, his composure snaps. He buries his face in the mud, sobbing out a frantic confession. I was blind to your glory and poisoned by doubt. Forget food, I only beg mercy. Spare me, I messed up. I will change. From now on, I am your loyal shadow. I let the threat pass. Enough. Tiemu, take him. Let him rot in silence for once. Tiemu moves fast, signaling guards to drag Leshy away. He's locked down until I say otherwise. Watching Tiemu, I realize we need a real dungeon. Iron bars speak louder than any warning. But the clan is starving. You cannot build jails when people are dying for a meal. With Leshy gone, Tiemu gets back to work, handing out the last scraps of our food. Soon the food is gone. Those left empty are dragged home and locked inside by Tiemu. I feel it, their fear turning into a dark kind of worship. My power is finally undeniable. I am no longer just a tree to them. I am something nameless, something far more dangerous. I clear the clearing, keeping only Tiemu. He knows a new era is about to begin. Spirit, what is your will? I ask him if he knows why the world is dying. He bows. I failed, he whispers. I let the faithless roam free while we all starved. You are right. This failure is yours. I watch the hope drain right out of him. I accept my fate, he says. I let out a rattling laugh that terrifies the man. I'm not blaming you. Just answer me. Why is there never enough food to eat? He fumbles for words. We cannot kill enough game. I sigh at his total lack of vision. I am done with riddles. Tiemu, have you ever looked at the seeds on the ground? He blinks confused. He has spent his whole life tracking blood, never looking at the dirt. The gatherers know the secret, but he's too proud. I decide to show him myself. If you buried those seeds in the spring, what do you think the earth would do? They would grow, he answers simply. Exactly. Now you are finally starting to see it. One seed becomes 100 by autumn, give the earth a life, and it feeds everyone. Do you see the power in that? He stands there, his mind finally catching the spark. One seed turns into a feast. His breath hitches. It is like he just discovered fire. Spirit, does this mean the hunger ends? We could survive the winter. This is a miracle. He's obsessed now. He wants the snow to vanish so he can start the harvest. But knowing the secret is just the start. Farming is a brutal, unforgiving labor of love. They know nothing of soil or tools. I will have to spoon-feed them every single lesson. I could let them figure it out, but they would die long before they got it. That is too slow. Tiemu, bring me your brightest. I will make them into something new. I will teach them the secrets of the grain. By spring, they will be my disciples. He rushes off to choose. I tell him to wait. The winter is long and cold. We have time to learn. By morning, he returns with 3 children ready for the task. They are 12 or 13, practically old men in this harsh, short-lived world of ours. Boys hunt and girls bear children. That is the grim reality of living on the edge. Most die by 30. Reaching 50 years is a feat reserved for the lucky and blessed. My magic has toughened them up, but they are still just flickering candles in the wind. 2 girls, 1 boy. The boy is already whining as they walk toward my sacred grove. Why am I digging in dirt? I want to kill Tiemu, slaps the boy's head hard. Shut it, Tiemu snarls. You are learning from a god. Do you know how lucky you are? You want to quit, fine. There is a line of people waiting to take your place. The boy shuts his mouth fast when he sees Tiemu's fist. He knows better than that. The girls are giggling in the back, watching the boy get put in his place again. Tiemu brings them close. Work hard, he warns. If you fail, you answer to the tree. Right, the boy mutters, because mocking a vengeful spirit is a great way to stay alive. Tiemu's eyes flash with a lethal coldness. Run that by me again. The kid instantly stiffens, pivoting toward me with a mask of forced devotion. I'll give my soul to learn the great wood's secrets under your divine shadow. A silent vibration of laughter ripples through my core as I dismiss Tiemu. I'll take Shuashuilian and Bayun into my custody. These 3 have lived for the rituals since they could walk their souls, stitched to my ancient wooden heart. Shoa whines about the hunt, yet being chosen as my disciple feeds a hunger in him far deeper than any stomach. My trial begins with the interrogation. The girls identify the life-bringers while Sho stands there utterly clueless and vacant. I start with the basics, choosing what lives. Bayun trembles, her voice cracking as she finds the courage to defy the silence. Great Spirit, we've eaten every grain. The granaries are ghosts. There isn't a single seed left to bury in the dirt. I unfurl a heavy branch, my leaves weaving into a massive pulsing sack, overflowing with every species of life imaginable. To master the earth, one must be prepared. I'd secretly commanded Goldenwick to pillage the wilds for months during its flights. An entire season's worth of stolen potential, a massive horde featuring strange flora from far beyond the borders of our forest. Goldenwick's loyalty paid off. The trio stands paralyzed, jaws dropping as they realize the sheer scale of my hidden power. They wonder how an unmoving tree possesses such abundance. I let the silence be my only answer. Mystery is a powerful leash. With the grain in their hands, the real work of transformation finally begins. After the identification drills, I forge their hands into tools of the earth. They learn with a terrifying hungry speed. Then comes the blood work. I command them to claim a barren stretch by the river, flaying the earth with their new claws. This dirt will be their classroom and the birthplace of a new world once the frost finally breaks. The tribe gathers at the riverbank, whispering like wind through dry leaves as they watch the children scar the ground. I drive the 3 to keep digging while I broadcast the coming revolution to the skeptical watching crowd. By the time the thaw comes, the entire clan is obsessed with the strange magic of the soil. I watch the stars, and as the heat rises, I command the planting. The tribe follows their faith, now a blind, desperate thing. Scores of dirt scars line the water's edge, each one pregnant with the promise of a future they can't imagine. But burial is the easy part. Life demands a constant tax-filled water, the slaughter of pests and endless grueling labor. Even with my whispers, their first attempt at playing God is riddled with failure and looming disaster. Left to their own devices, they would have starved for 5 decades before uncovering the secrets I gave them. Through the teaching, I feel my own power shifting. I can taste the sap in every stalk, knowing the exact second of need. Without ever touching the dirt, I command the world through their hands with a chilling absolute precision. 6 months pass, the earth yields, the first fast-growing stalks bow under the weight of grain, and the tribe erupts in frenzy. Led by Shoah and the girls, a desperate army of women and children descends to reap the golden reward. It looks like old-world wheat, though the kernels are small, shrunken hearts packed with the power of the sun. For the Wood Clan, this is a rupture in time. The first moment they stopped being hunters and became masters. Tiemu stares at the mountain of gold, his face glowing with a dangerous joy. More life still sleeps beneath the soil. He sees the vision now, a world where hunger is a myth and the clan grows fatter than the land can hold. Hunting is a dying art. Tiemu spots Shoah's arrogant smirk and asks, "Well, boy, do you still miss the kill?" Shoah's laughter is sharp. "Uncle, the Great Wood is a god. This isn't food, it's a miracle handed to us." Tiemu bows his head, the weight of the blessing sinking in. A divine gift. We'll never fear the winter's bite again. Uncle Ty's eyes narrow with a new greed. "We should clear the whole forest, plant every inch, rule it all." Tiemu agrees, his voice low. "Yes, but first we owe a debt to the one who fed us." "Blood and tribute for the wood," Shoah says, slapping his head as if waking from a dream. "Of course, uncle." They prepare the altar. Then Shoah stops his eyes, searching my canopy. "Uncle's sacred tree feels small, insignificant." Temu's face darkens, a sudden violent protective streak flaring up. "Watch your tongue, you little ingrate." Shoah waves him off, his ambition bleeding through. "No, listen, it's too humble. It doesn't scream power." Not grand enough. Tiemu mulls it over. What could possibly be more holy than the thing that saved them? What name could possibly carry more weight? Speak up, or I'll bury you in the field you just cleared. Shoah shrinks back, the weight of his own arrogance finally catching up to him as he searches for a name. I sense Temu's irritation, yet I don't flinch. "Uncle," while communing with the Great Root, a single name echoed through me. "It's the one," I whisper. "And that is," he asks, "God." The word lingers. They lack the vocabulary, so I use a sound from my past, a sharp, holy syllable that tastes like divinity. Shoah's eyes light up. Exactly, a ruler of all things. An entity that holds the world's very breath. The Great Root has earned that title. Tiemu agrees, his jaw set in sudden fierce conviction. Henceforth, the tree is our lord. They vow to reveal this new truth when the moon rises for the ritual. Preparation begins under Temu's command. He's obsessed with presenting an offering far greater than any seen before. After felling a massive tusker, the hunters return to heap the season's finest grain alongside the bloody kill. With the tribe assembled, Tiemu kneels at my roots, spilling a feast of sacrifice across the darkened soil. These gifts are eternal, never to be reclaimed. Leaving a whole beast reveals the sheer weight of his desperate devotion. Tiemu orchestrates the collective prayer. Looking at their full storehouses, the tribe realizes every scrap of survival was a gift from my wisdom. Skepticism has withered away. In its place, a feverish absolute faith has taken root in every single soul. The psychic feedback from this single rite dwarfs the power of a dozen past sacrifices put together. A violent wave of essence crashes into my core, vibrating through my very sap. As the fire fades, Tiemu shouts, "The Great Root is no more today, we bow to our one true God." I'm stunned. That ancient title. Shoah's fingerprints are all over this little theological coup, I'm certain of it. He's been pushing for this, but I always refused. I never felt worthy of holding the heavens on my shoulders. Now that the chief has declared it law, trying to correct them would be like shouting at a storm. If I denied this name, they'd only invent another. I decide to let the tides of faith flow. Yet God feels too broad, too empty. If I must be a deity, call me the Forest King. My voice thunders back, sending the tribe into a frenzy. Their rhythmic chanting shakes the leaves. Forest King, Forest King. With a new identity comes a new era. Agriculture has finally ended the brutal cycle of starvation for my people. As years pass, I weave my magic into the soil, forcing the grain to grow heavy and abundant. Channeling their devotion, I spent years breeding a supernatural strain of wheat that matures in a mere blink. Spears were traded for plows. Survival was no longer a bloody gamble, but a steady green rhythm of labor. I commanded them to snare the mountain beasts, bending wild blood into the service of the hearth. Half a decade later, 230 souls called this place home. What was once a camp is now a fortress. A larger flock produces a greater tide of spirit. Soon my internal reservoirs are brimming with untapped celestial power. Driven by curiosity, I flood my own heartwood with every ounce of that stored, shimmering light. I'd been a mere vessel for too long. When that raw energy finally ignited within my cells, my reality fractured. I feel a sudden violent expansion. My form had been stagnant for a century, frozen in a wooden tomb. This one reckless gamble has shattered my limits, forcing my limbs toward the clouds again. My bark splits as I widen, roots tunnel deep like serpents while my canopy stabs at the heavens. I skyrocket from 50 meters to 100, a colossus of timber and leaf that now rivals the mountains. My girth is immense. It would take 8 men with linked arms just to touch fingers around me. This transformation takes only 15 minutes, yet the shockwaves from my ascent rattle every home in the village. The people scramble outside, their eyes widening as they witness a mountain of wood tearing through the sky. Total silence falls. They are staring at a miracle that defies every law of the world they knew. Tiemu races toward me, his face a mask of religious ecstasy and terror as he hits the ground. At 100 meters, the power inside Tiemu detonates. An emerald supernova screams from his flesh, blinding the world. A spectral twin of my own massive form woven from ghostlight towers behind him, mimicking my impossible growth. Despite my newfound mass, my perception remains razor-sharp, feeling every vibration in the air. I focus on the flare at my roots. Instantly, I realize the truth of what this explosive evolution has done. The power in Temu's veins is no longer his. It is an extension of my own. I used to feel our connection as a mere twitch. Now it's a roar in my soul. My sudden evolution forced a violent surge through his veins that he couldn't contain. The dark energy settles as he regains his grip, though his eyes are haunted by questions. My people crowd around me, their faces etched with a heavy, expectant silence. Their deity just mutated before them. Staring is the only natural response they have. I call it a natural transition, and their collective terror immediately turns to peace. They offer their prayers and vanish, leaving only him standing in my massive shadow. He asks if his power has truly spiked, and I confirm his deepest suspicions. Music. That ancient force is blooming, and he clenches his fist, testing this new heavy reality. Then he asks the one thing I feared: can I share this gift with others? Music. I test his motives, but he only cares about keeping his family and kin safe. He hates being the only weapon in the tribe, but I offer him no answers. I'm secretly wondering if these primitive mortals possess a hidden spark I never noticed. Teaching them basic survival and farming has occupied every second of my time for years. I tell him to wait for the right moment, and he finally retreats unsatisfied. Alone, I turn my gaze inward to find the root of this terrifying transformation: music. But my 100-meter height is now a beacon for every enemy in sight. Miles away, a hunting party on a jagged peak freezes in their tracks. One man spots an impossible tower of green piercing a horizon that was once empty. Its canopy is so massive it looks like a living mountain made of leaves. He grabs his partner's arm, terrified that his own mind is finally failing him. His friend mocks him until he turns and sees the emerald monster for himself. Denial fails them both. The world they knew has been irrevocably changed by something massive. That thing wasn't there yesterday. They have to warn the chief before it's too late. They ditch the keel and whistle, summoning a sea of emerald-scaled vipers from the brush. Lethal snakes coil around their limbs like jewelry, obedient to their master's growing fear. They race down the mountainside, their hearts thumping a frantic, rhythmic warning. They check their shoulders repeatedly until the ridge finally swallows the giant tree from view. Terrified it might have been a ghost, they scramble back up the rocks to double-check. Once they confirm it's still there, they bolt for their settlement to sound the alarm.